Hi, and welcome to Conscious Talk Radio or TV. And I'm your host, Linda Summers. And these shows, we are providing information to bring awareness to humanity. And our guest today is Rick Jewers. And our topic is clarity on the quantum financial system and the different timelines and other updates. And so with that, I want to welcome Rick to the show. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Linda, viewers, thank you. We're back again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Been a
we
while,
are back.
hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the 27th. So it was maybe 3-4 days ago we were on
No,
here.
okay.
So yeah. Yes. And thanks to all the viewers who are joining us and tuning in. We appreciate you. Thank you. Yes. Rick, Rick's got there's a lot of energy going on over there.
Yeah, it's pretty warm there.
Yeah.
In the tropics, perhaps, all over the place. Yeah, so, essentially, with these terms, the RV, GCR, NESARA, GESARA, quantum financial system. There are many of these terms out there. They are all attached to one reality, but let's say they're also partial realities as well. So, and with that, there can become a lot of confusion in these times when we have the angelics, everyone ascending. When you are, because you now know that you are able to manifest, to co-create. So at these times, it's not like it was any time before, and in unprecedented history upon the planet. So what is happening? It is very important for everyone that is watching this and everyone ascending to be very conscientious of your thoughts, but know that you are not just residing in one reality. There are several, and realities are what I use the terminology timelines, but realities and timelines are the same things. But what has occurred because of this ascension in your multi-dimensional ability, you're able to be into several different realities. And this mostly occurs with you, unbeknownst to you, what reality you are in at certain times. It's best to function most efficiently just to always try to be general and support with your energetic thoughts the good things that you would like to see, like a quantum financial system or intermediary transitions to that, like a reset and currency resets and what have you. Now, you don't, as I mentioned, there are many timelines playing out, but they ultimately all converge into the freedom of humanity. And this is the reason why we are all here. It's part of the reason to secure the human playground and free humanity, to basically allow them catch up with all of the other civilizations in the other universes. And we are assuring this, and there is nothing that stands in the way of this. This is by this is with a divine decree of the highest order that this ascension is taking place. So from the prime creator, the prime directive, and nothing stops it. So all of you are you're perfectly safe, and you are in one of the most amazing times to be a humanoid and an angel at the same time during your transition. And we know that times it can be confusing, and what causes the confusion is multiple timelines when you're straddling it as well. And like most part, we try to keep it simple, saying that for most of you now, that or more. No, hold it. I got to. For some of you, your experience of duality, like where you have two prominent timelines that you're existing on. But with more and more each day, they are experience a triality where there are more than two timelines and two
Wow.
states of being and consciousness. But what is occurring is that it's for a triality and a higher state of consciousness, you can bring that into whatever timeline you're on and keep that into intact for the timeline. So it's the higher knowledge having it and bringing it into these lower timelines to co-create as well. And this is what we're doing. So we're bringing timelines into fruition that transitions humanity out of the enslavement environment they were in into the freedom and into the freedom environment. And right at this time, we have accomplished that we are at the threshold, the breakthrough to the next highest level in appeasing that outcome that everyone desired.
So are you talking about the quantum financial system that we're on the verge? Because I mean, I know that there's been posts written that it's kind of already in the making.
Well, it is. For ones of you, if you're able to perceive, and again, let's do it perhaps with a level.
Yeah.
Okay, this level right here is what I would label the timeline where none of this occurs. No freedom for humanity. This timeline right here, a timeline that ends approximately 68 years from now, and it includes the catastrophic ending, the apocalypse, nuclear war, what have you. Timeline is there. All of you that are here now are not on that.
Right.
Very, very rarely you may, one or a couple of you may be sent down to that for a short period of time to assist someone that has made the choice at the soul level to ascend and not stay on that timeline. But very rarely now are any of you see this lower 4D timeline. Our 4D timeline stays intact because what we have separated the darkness from the light, quarantine the darkness also to this lower timeline. More involved with what actually occurred, we don't need to go into what is, and perhaps in the future you will know anyway what actually occurred, but that is really not relevant at this time. What is relevant is to know that you are now are not restricted to the way. Then what we have is boom, we have the first echelon of the 5D timeline spectrum, what we have here, and that's where everyone is at right now on the lower 5D timeline. And with that, so we are creating and building as we go along. The blueprint is already intact for the timelines we create. So it's pretty warm here, so I'll just try to.
I don't mean to be laughing, but I'm so sorry. It's like poor Rick. He just gives his energy. He's like, shoo.
Yeah, I laugh at everything anyway, Linda. It's all cool.
I know. Well, and you're freezing up a little bit too. So here you're wiping the sweat and you're freezing up just a little bit. So.
Okay. Move slow. Okay.
So you're saying no one's on the 4D. We're on no one's on the 4D. That we're on the lowest of the 5D.
Yes, where the magic begins, 5D. At this time, we have 3, 3, 2, 2.5. Okay, we have 2.5 accessible funds for all of you, meaning that you can exist on them in physical form. And to differentiate between them is the highest of that timeline is also where your reality changes materially, like, on your block, or maybe houses, but you could go out to multiple stores there. You could go out the next day, then it'd be back to. So that is about the highest one right now that you have access to. But I'm kind of off track. We got to get back, I believe, to the quantum financial system and the reevaluation. Okay, so basically, where everyone is at now, everything is secured with what we call just NISERA is a national. A national act, but there's also the GESERA Act, which is all encompassing around the globe. And the GESERA Act was actually, it was agreed to just prior to President Trump becoming into power. And President Trump was supported by the light and by the galactics. And so there was resistance, but again, as I said, everything is imminent and nothing is more powerful than divinity. And there were attempts with, let's say, by the resistant to take control of that presidency. So there were futile attempts, and we stamped them out, and we assured, because we always do, who is supposed to get in. And so having said that, the GESERA was agreed upon prior to Trump's inauguration in 2016. So it was all secured because, again, everything is divinely assured and ascertained. So where we are at, just what is occurring is that everything has been done like on a higher level behind the scenes. So there was very little that was leaked through to even the light community, and relatively nothing to the general masses, that they did not know this. But what was worked upon, and yes, there has been galactic interactions and participation in what occurred here on the surface as well. And as we know, nothing was really as it seems, that there's really a whole other different realm. So we had, so it was a very strategic but divine plan that cannot fail, and it just does not. Failure does not exist with divinity and our creation abilities. So it's been executed, which brought us to on this lower timeline over 200 countries signing and agreeing to reset currencies and base them on, let's say, more material assets rather than fiat money or imaginary money that was just digitally printed. So having said that, with that timeline, all of this has already occurred. This is done. Your GESERA is here. And what is happening and what is occurring is the final touches and the final tweaking up of the electronic and digital banking systems to facilitate these huge transactions to temporary. And everything with this is only temporary as well, because the goal is here very rapidly you phase out of the use of money upon the surface. This is only being done for a transitional period, and in reality we could do it in the blink of an eye. And but I won't get into that. What we need to get into now is what the viewers need to know, and the light communities, and where we're at and what we're doing. and also what to be a part of and co-create with your higher energies and your higher prowess that you now have. So again, at this point, Jacera is. It is very real for all of you. And also with the reset of currencies, that is beginning. And yes, that is very real as well. Now, it comes quicker the more you have online with it and with the belief in it too, because it is a vibratory thing. So let's say if no one supports it, or let's say if you just marginally support it, it prolongs when it will come online. But once you have the more of the creators also supporting it, the quicker it comes online and actually is established within your reality. So again, I don't wish to complicate things, so I should just go back. It is important that you know it is transitional. So what you wish to know is that there is a currency which involves redeeming Zim bonds, Vietnam, redeeming currencies, which a lot of these are worth tremendous amount of monies. You have divine trust funds set up. Many of you were given a very pertinent instructions to show what you would do with these funds, so that it's also to be an administrator of them. You did not have to prove your worth or your worthiness. What it actually is that you had to be introduced them. So through the process, yeah. So then you have integrated and seeded the knowing of how to proceed with it, because you have created your own plan of how to disperse the funds and to assist during this temporary transition. So,
are you talking about the bonds?
yeah, the other currencies, Zims, and as I said, these are the higher ones, like the Zim, the Dong, the Dinar. These were the ones that and many of the angelics own them because of for these divine purposes for this time to create the humanitarian projects. Um, so essentially, this is what we have, what is occurring now, but we also have what is occurring is what we would call a quantum financial system, which also, so you have a quantum financial system here. And what is occurring now is right here is the RV. It connects into this to be a way to distribute globally the funds. So you have this global financial system as well, but this is also secured by off-world assistance. So you actually have two quantum financial systems, and I wish to not cause confusion with that, but I wish to show that there are variations of it, because you have one quantum financial system that ties in with your RVs. What I have done in the past, I have spoken about another quantum financial system. I labeled it, I used that term. And what I wish to do is to rectify that and change that right now. And at this point, and Linda, you and I spoke about this yesterday. And last evening, I got online and I see Stephanie R. Hogarth is talking about a QRS, so a quantum resource. It was what I need to do is to say, perhaps I will go back with identifying the higher quantum financial system as a divine universal access to money as well, because what I speak about, we have right here, you have your currency holders, which is connected to the quantum financial system.
Yeah.
But up here is a universal system that none of this below is connected to, but the system up above, everyone that is also part of these is connected to that, but the ones that were left out with no bonds and these sort of things, they are all connected into the overall umbrella quantum financial system. So, meaning that no one is excluded. And this is very important to say this because, many angels will say, well, I don't have no bonds and, I have no money. But what occurs? Everyone is provided for during these transitory stages. So, for all sakes and purposes, I believe what I am going to announce now that I will go back to the universal system. And when I speak about that, that'll be the system where money appears in your account out of thin air and your transactions are paid for. So I will say I will go back to say it's a universal system instead of stating the QFS. The QFS is intact, and we know. I just wished to make a little separation with the label that I use for this other system. So that will lessen confusion. And again, I take the blame for that because I use that term interchangeably. What I'm doing now is rectifying that.
Yeah.
But so all three are real. Your reset of currencies, which is connected to your quantum financial system, very real, and also your universal system that we have. So we have all bases covered, and everyone will be accommodated through whatever means. And again, we are in transition with that, but we have just crossed a very major threshold with this. So with the release of funds, I had anticipate for certain ones that, well, for some, they already occurred. Some are the global collateral accounts from other projects, as I mentioned prior in a interview we did. It might have been our last one, Linda, where I mentioned that there were about 30,000 Asians from that part were introduced to and connected to the collateral accounts of wealth as well. Yeah. So these things are all happening, and again, they are transitory stages for most of us. You will keep going up into higher timelines. Some may stay and work upon the humanitarian projects that assist the other masses not awakened, but some others, ones of you may keep going ahead, creating and building other timelines and doing higher divine work with that respect. I'll stop.
And that would be based on soul contract, correct?
Pardon?
That would be based on soul contract, yes? Or is it optional?
It's always, no,
I would say.
Thank you, and a very beautiful point. And it's always too important and accept for yourself that there is such a thing as a soul contract. And each one of you know that because it's there in your inner knowing. So the label of a soul contract is very important. Yes, because it let's say as you keep raising higher in your vibration of your soul contract, you remember what it is, but you're not allowed to remember it until you keep going up. So, but it is a very real thing, but also because of this ascension and what we're doing, there will be some of you that you can constantly change your soul contract. So at this point, I would say anyone that just heard that, that you can't. So you keep changing it always to the highest and keep evolving Uh, like one of the old adages, reach for the stars, do it every day, because not only are you, because you are creating that. And again, it's so important to be positive and towards the love and the divinity, because that is where your power is. So, and that's why it was so important for each one to, the yin and yang thing. Once they got to a balance with their negativity and their fear, then they began eliminating that total part of whatever side is the yang, whatever was dark, to eliminate that fully, to power yourself up. Because essentially, a yin and yang balance is what keeps you in the lower densities. And as you leave go of the dark side of that, I'm trying to do that yin yang thing. As you leave go of the dark side, you rise up into the other realities. So it's an anchor to keep you in the lower densities, the lower realities. So it's important that you take that anchor out of your energetic field so that you can rise and empower yourself. And then you begin creating, you become a more powerful creator. So on the smallest scale, you are showing that you're able to manifest. It is magic. It would be referred to as humans as magic, but it's divine magic, and it's only the beginning to what you can actually influence. And at this point, I am, if we need it, I am gathering together a strong group for to tweak up further exercises if required. It's possible at this time that we may not need to get together as a like community to use our prowess in creation, because so many of us, again, have been going ahead during the astral sleep time and preparing the other timeline. So everyone is working 24/7. It's just that you're not remembering what you're doing, because you can't, if you were to remember what you're doing, it affects what you do here now to get to there. So that's why it's erased, most of it. You might be given some little inklings or trickles of what happened, but you're not given it at all. In your deja vu experiences, those are confirmations for you that yes, you are going into that creation, but it's also confirmation you are actually forward creating the things, and you already created. Now you're walking the human vessel in the human awakened stage, not sleeping, through what you had created as well. And you do receive, certain points, deja vu experiences are a result of that.
Yeah. Wow, awesome. Thank you for that. My gosh. So I have a question on Nasara, because there's Jasara, the Nasara. So what's the difference between the Nasara and the Jasara, and why is there two?
Well, essentially, what I'll say is, without looking at this, I would look at Nasara with an N as a national one. So perhaps you could say that.
Okay.
Perhaps one of the best ways to perspect this is that within each nation that they had to agree. So you would call it a National Economic Sustainable Recovery Act. So within the nation, there were certain light ones there to get the nation on side. So they were a group. So you would call that a Nasara, to attach into what is called a Jusara, which is globally the umbrella. So you needed all of the individual parts, which you could call Nasara, acts done within the nations to begin to fit in and comply with the Jusara. And there was in the beginning a lot of resistance with that from what you call the cabal and the dark ones, but very all of this has been taken care of behind the scenes, and they were um, dealt with accordingly, is what I will say, because this is imminent and nothing stands in its way. And like I said the other night, I
Yeah.
love from that Star Trek movie with the Borg, they say resistance is futile, and that's what it is for the darkness up against the light. Yeah, be
Yeah.
assimilated or be exterminated or what have you. On any one way. There is
Yeah.
nothing. Don't harm. There is no harm with this, but just to
Yeah.
put it, on a more, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So, I mean, we decided to do the show because I thought it was important, because there is so much information out there. And so, I, like we talked about, what feels really important is for everyone to be thinking the same. Is that relatively correct? To be thinking the same, that we are all on the same page. But if you have different people who have different perceptions of what the Nasara, Jasara, and QFS are, and how do you link all that together that we can all go, oh, okay, I know where I'm at, with this, and I know what that is. So we can all be on the same page so we can advance
Okay.
higher.
Thank you so much, Linda. So again, it's important for everyone to know that this is a transition process. The whole thing with the currencies and everything. It's a transition process that eventually takes humanity out of the use of money,
Right.
and it's done incrementally. So there are stages with it. So what each needs to know and what they should do is keep energizing and believing with their thoughts each stage what resonates with them. For example, if the Zim bonds is the thing, yes, keep energizing that, keep waiting, keep your thoughts towards that. Because what you do is you are a co creator as well. And what you do by whatever resonates with you with these realities of the currencies or what have you, that whatever resonates, that is what you're to go in and power it up, but you're to connect with others, and it's very important. The more of you that connect and keep connecting, the quicker you bring it into reality, and the more powerful it is as well, and it expedites everything. So again, essentially, for what resonates with each one of you, support that, but always be flexible to evolve as new information comes out, because you are in a transitory stage. So to weed out any of the confusion, the ones that know about all of the resets of currencies and the QFS, you know all about that. You might wish to align yourself with the universal system that I mentioned earlier, where you are funded through other different means for whatever work you have here to do yet. So again, it's important for each one to keep energizing the higher timelines that brings it in. So you are futuristic, energizing it to bring it into this now. And that's important for everyone to, all of the light communities attached to at least some form of what you call a reset of currencies, QFS, or what I have mentioned, a universal system. You need to keep your thoughts attuned to that, and keep them there unwavered and steady. And that's what strengthens it. So again, you get everyone working together and supporting this, then it brings it into fruition quicker. And yes, you have the power to do it. This is not imagination. We have shown you so many confirmations of your prowess and other realities that by now there should be very little doubt, if any at all.
Well, so that brings me to my next question.
Great.
Is I wrote down, because you keep mentioning we. Now I know, and I know a lot of the viewers do too, but I think it's just important to, because of your direct connection, which, we are all connected, right? But can you talk about the we? Like, because I think what your mission is very important here on the planet, to assist the planet. So, and this is part of that assisting. So it's like having the direct information from Father, right? That what you are to deliver, because you keep mentioning we. So can you do you mind speaking on that?
Let me say
Could
that
you?
all of you are part of we.
Mhm.
The galactics are part of we. Um,
Yes.
God, Father, is part of we.
Mhm.
It's all encompassing, and but there is when I refer to we, I refer also to the higher aspects of all of you. As I mentioned before, you are working in the astrals, and that's
Mhm.
where uh, we do most of our work together. So you are all
Mhm.
part of that. Essentially, it's all we. But what I will do
Yes.
sometimes is to let's say that there is part of this we, that there is a coordinator, a director. So what I tend to do is it's God. There's a divine council, and then there is a Federation of Light, or the Galactics as well, just to keep it simple. There are some other aspects put in there when needed, but just to try to create a schematic of really of what it is. And it is a hierarchy or a hierarchy,
Yeah.
because that is so, and everyone knows that. If it was not,
Yeah.
you'd not be here, you'd be gone. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
But but there is. So when we, as well, as you know, a lot of this information is coming from my connection to Father,
Yes.
to Divine
Yes.
Council, which I meet with, let's say, kind of on a regular basis, but
Mhm.
also we with the galactics, because I am
Mhm.
also interconnected to all of them, like
Mhm.
all of you are, except there
Yes.
may be the difference that uh, not only am I fully connected in the astral, I'm fully connected when I'm here like this as well,
Mhm.
um, at all times with it. And it's just that for my intents and purposes of being here upon the surface, that I am also what you would call an overseer of the ascension,
Yeah.
checking the progress upon this, assisting in whatever ways that I can. So I need to
Mhm.
be open to that respect while I'm awake, not resting this physical body, and to to assist with putting events forward as well, and assisting wherever I may. So,
Mhm.
wow, that was long-winded. Okay, so we
No,
is
thank
all of
yeah.
us.
Yes, and I knew that, but you pretty much clarified with when you're talking about the council, and that you are, that's your mission, is to oversee this ascension, right? So that's why I think it's important for people to know that it's kind of like we all have this mission, right? And
Mhm.
so that is part of your mission, and it's to get us all on the same page, get us all in that same that vibration of remaining in that high state of vibration. Because I use the word we too, and it is that I know we
Mhm.
are all connected, but I wrote it down, and I kept in my mind going, I'm not going to ask that question. It's a ridiculous question because I know the answer to the question, but I was I don't want to say forced, but it was like I needed to ask a question, and I just kept. I
Indeed.
mean, it's been there for a while, so
Yeah, and
so
thank
I
you
just
so
felt it
much.
was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for bringing that out again. And no, it is so important that that we know that. But again, it's the unity of everyone knowing that
Yes.
each one of you is a part of this. And
Yes.
we all are. And we're much more than, as we said, human. It's not that at all.
Right.
Each one of you is much more, and you're getting your memory back, but you only can have your memory back in proportion to the reality you are divinely supposed to be in. Because if you get all of your memory back, then you're gone.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
And from my memory, I have it, but it's all blocked to enable me to stay here. And marginally part of the script of what we create, the future timelines, marginally we introduce little things as we go along, but being fully open. I know the full script of everything, what is going to occur. I know this, but consciously, when I'm here, I have a lot of it blocked because we are all part of a collective consciousness, and you don't want confusion. Or if we released all the truth in it as well, you really cannot be here like this, because again, if you know everything while you're here, it's going to change the whole outcome. And again, part of the reason we are here is to secure the divine aspect, which is the human playground too. So it's very important to know that. And everyone gets their memory back when our mission is complete. But let's say our mission, it is complete, but we're also doing some extras, and but everything is cool with that.
Mm.
So I had to say cool,
Yeah.
so I cool the room off her.
We're sending you cold. So
Say,
anybody that's tuning in, if you're freezing, send Rick some of your cold, and he'll
well,
send you some of his heat.
no, they're very powerful. My toes are starting to get cold. Stop. It's good. Thank you.
Oh,
Wow.
I was going to read any comments that
Oh,
maybe Daniela.
it
Can you
worked.
feel cold air?
Thank you. It
There you
worked.
go. Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah. Danny is, Danny is going through a very special part of her light body process as well. And, when I went through with this body, a similar process, what she's going through, you love the heat. I loved it. I needed to have it nice and warm, so I know what it's like too, as well. And this is Danny's room here, and yeah, she kept it nice and warm. But I know how important that is to at a certain stage, in that process. So I'm very grateful for that, and yeah, it's cooling down.
Plus all the energy too. Well, I thought it was really important for you to say that, because I think it's important to know where that comes from, the information. Because there's other people, because we post this on Instagram as well. And so there's going to be people that may go, what is that all about? Right. So I think it's just important to kind of know where that information is coming from, because we all have access to that for sure.
It comes from Father and Divine Council, yes, and the Galactics, but mostly Divine Council and Father, and occasionally I need to know things, what is going on with the Galactics, if you will. So occasionally I'm updated on that, but not so much. Only if I need to be. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that kind of goes into, do you want to say anything more on the QFS, the timelines? And we are going to do a Q&A at the end of the show, but Be Live has not figured out how we can, the scroll thing it is a problem with their platform. So if I miss your question, I apologize. I'm going to try and do my best. And I know Pages got stuck on there. That was by Divine. Anyway, I'll do my best. So if we could do one question at a time when we do get to questions, that would be great. But so Rick, do you have anything else you want to add to the QFS or the timelines? Because I know we were going to talk about other updates as well. There's anything you want to?
So basically, you know, all of you, you don't need to dig and search to know all about it. So let's say if it's confusing to you and it doesn't make sense, that means just don't go there. Just know that it's real and support. Make it easy on yourself. Don't complicate yourself. Now, there may be more, some of you that at this time it begins to resonate that you need to know, and that's coming from your heart and your intuition to do it, then yes, follow it. But let's say at this point that those that needed to be educated in that field are already there and doing it, and anything that you need to know, it will come. But it's best just to know that it is happening. Keep it energized, whether you're part of it or not, so that it comes into fruition, and we just keep creating as a whole all together with that is what I suggest.
Yeah, and as we talked last night, I think there's ones that are pioneering this for us because I have a holder of the Zims, and for me, I know I have a friend who introduced that to me a few years back, and you need to get a trust, an 800 number, and all that, and of course, it didn't feel right for me, and we talked about that. So, for me, it's just a matter of I know that whatever is to be is going to be, and that I will be notified as to what I need to do. Some people may not, may go ahead and get their trust, or they may go ahead and do whatever, but that did not resonate for me. So I think that is really important to stress that. So whatever is resonating with one. Yeah.
Exactly as well. And in the early stages, we were dealing with more of the resistance. And so what occurred, it's best to anyone reading this to read the up to date. Don't go way back because it transitioned from way back to now, and it could confuse you as well. So any information that you're reading, make sure it's from this and now, because you evolved over that. And a lot of this doesn't pertain because back here you had banks being into it, and there was also intentionally resistance would throw in distortions and misconception to confuse in the beginning. So it had to be purified and transitioned into what's now. So it's very important just to go with what you're getting now and trust in that. And yes, anyone that needs to be contacted, you will be in one manner or another, and trust that. Indeed.
Well, and as we talked to in other shows too, I mean, really, the whole money thing is, kind of, well, it depends where you want to be, but if you want it to be obsolete to where you are just in that flow of the energy of one, right? Then that's the space you want to be in. Like you said, you could, just as soon skip the whole RV, skip the reset, and just fly up, But you need to be here at least in that transitional time where other people may not even want to deal with the whole transitional reset currency or the universal, the art, the QFS, or any of that.
Well,
yeah, or will everyone experience it?
Yeah, indeed, Linda. There are so many, you could say, teams upon the surface that is facilitating this, and it's not per se entirely for each one of you or us, because we are going on to higher and different places, some of us. And some of you will remain here administrating and overseeing parts of this, but it transitions very rapidly to the place where there's no need for money, because you're going to have other primitive technologies like replicators and these sort. I call them primitive because because there is many of you are going where you just create your reality in front of you, just like rolling out a carpet, right? And that's why you don't need anything when you begin to
Oh.
enjoy those aspects when you ascend higher and higher. But yeah, in the midterm, yeah, the technologies are being released, and also, this is in the Gesera Act as well. That's already been
Mm.
agreed to by over 200 countries. Is the release of the new technologies, the patents. And just earlier today, I was looking at a interview by a lady. I only got a little bit of it done, not an interview, a YouTube, and she has done a remarkable job. And I will go back there and look later, but my internet had cut off. And however, okay, there was one point. Anyways,
You were talking about the Gesera.
yeah, with the Gesera, it's already in there. But there was one point I was going to focus upon. However, that means I don't need to, so I'm good with it.
Oh, okay. Because I can try and refresh your memory. Well, I love that whole idea. Just whatever, I mean, seriously, like that's just like, okay, whatever you're thinking, like, I mean, like you're in high vibration, whatever you're thinking, it's rolled out in front of you. Like you would see beautiful landscapes, flowers, whatever. That would be, that's just, wow.
Well, those
It's
are your
beautiful.
higher creator abilities. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 The lower timelines you're on, your creation is taken away from you, and this is why it's so important for everyone to get rid of your negativity, your fear, and get up here. Because when you do, as you get rid of that, it's replaced with your co-creator gifts at higher levels, and it's really no choice. You know what you want, so you get
Yeah.
to work and you do your inner work. You embody yourself, and these are your rewards, and you get fringe benefits all along the way.
Mhm.
Fringe benefits that are very magical and divine, and that instills more incentive that you do it and continue
Yeah.
with the process. It's what you
Yeah.
are. You're taking yourself also back to your full divinity and your power and your prowess. And
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
actually very beautiful what's occurring, the metamorphosis, if you will.
Mhm.
So you're a human in a cocoon, and
Yeah.
you're emerging as the angel.
Yeah.
You're the whole
Go
divine
get your
being.
wings. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love
And
it. I love it. That's awesome. So going back to the girl that with the video, do you know? I mean, I know you lost your train of thought, but what was it that she was talking about? For some reason, I just
Yeah, she
feel
was
like I have to
speaking
ask.
about Jacera. Oh, okay, thank you. You got me back on track. You're
Thank
amazing.
you.
Okay, it's about what Trump said. With the Jacera, what was in there?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so the Jacera is not a fictional document. It is
Mhm.
real now. It could have been before resistance trying to make it look like fictional. No, it's actual, and you're actually seeing Trump constantly accrediting the Jacera and enforcing it. And one of the aspects that is in Jacera is that with the reset of currencies, which is part of Jacera, the
Mhm.
reset of currencies is allowing countries to calculate their resources, not just gold, to calculate their resources into
Mhm.
their worth of what they are. And this is exactly why Zimbabwe, is very powerful to this respect, because within Zimbabwe, it's very rich in PGMs, rare earth elements, diamonds, and
Yeah.
when you start bringing all this resource into consideration,
Yeah.
boom, you have a very powerful currency. But to
Yeah.
keep everything in respect and not let it get out of control, what you're having is a re-evaluation of each country's wealth brought
Mhm.
into accordance to create everyone getting on par to create a one world currency, which is par. That you don't have these exchanges, and you don't need the banks, you don't need the stock markets, you don't need any of that anymore. That's part of the Kabbalistic rule and system. You don't need the monarchs anymore as well. And things are changing very rapidly to that effect. You don't need governments the way they were. So you're going to, you are now seeing this transition out of it as well. So let me say, even though the masses are not awakened, you do not need them awakened to do this transition, because everything is divinely orchestrated to also take the governments out of the way. And if you're looking at Canada here right now, you'll see how everything is perfectly divinely timed to facilitate that as well. That it becomes so blatant, the series of events and what is shown to the people, that they cannot refute it or deny it. They have to accept it. Then they no longer support it. And as I say, with governments, the way they were, once people no longer support them the way they were, then they cannot exist. The only way they exist is because of energetic support and belief. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do want to go back to something, because when you were talking about the gal that had the video channel, prior to that, we were talking about that the Gesera, it's all in there. So what is, I don't remember what we were talking about, but you said it's in the Gesara. And that's when you started talking about her.
Yeah. So with Trump, what you see him in particular referring to a gold-backed resource again. For him, what's in the Gesara as well, it allows, as I alluded to on an earlier show, that resources in situ, meaning resources in the ground, not mined, can be calculated very precisely, their worth. They don't need to be mined. So if you have mineral or oil, well, oil's going to be transitioned out as well, but temporarily. Let's just look at precious metals and precious gems and rare earths, these sort of things temporarily. You base a currency on them because they are a sort of a bullion, where, previously bullion was usually identified as gold, but now you'll have all of these resources are taken into consideration: gold, precious metals, the PGMs, and all of these valuable resources. So with that, it has already occurred, and when you hear Trump saying, like, what, you had sent me a segment of Trump's speech where he said a gold-backed currency. And my remarks onto that there's not enough gold in the world to back and to clear out the U.S. debt. So therefore, that right there, also with Gesara, that is one of the provisions in there, that a currency needs to be, gold backed, or at least asset backed, that the assets are acceptable to the global community. So to see Trump do that one thing, saying he is announcing, or that he is implementing a gold-backed currency, is very, very significant as well.
Sure.
And it is Gesara compliant, meaning that the way things were going, if the banks were still in control in the fiat money system, if that was still there, you would not see Trump announcing a gold-backed currency, which wipes out the Fed and the IRS, and in Canada, the CRA. All the tax regimes are also being wiped out because of this, because they are in part and parcel as well they were in collusion with the banks, but the whole banking
Mhm.
system and the oligarchs and the elitists, they have all lost control, and we have
Mhm.
taken them out. So again, it's a transition where everything is taken away from the banks, and just we saw the immunity of the World Bank from being
Yeah,
prosecuted. Yeah, yeah, there, and that's
that's huge.
public, that's real,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that is substantial with
yeah,
it as well. So these are these are not figments of imagination. It's not fantasy. It is very real, and it is occurring. And the process is so intricate. It's so many parts to it. But if
yeah,
one was, to take a week and just go on the computer and research everything
yeah,
they would find is that it's accredited and it's validated that it's real. Everything the light community has spoken about, and it's our reality at this
yeah,
present time. And it
yeah,
is all coming to fruition. So with the
yeah.
World Bank, yeah, no longer being immune, and one of the old adages, the banks are too big to fail. God's bigger than
Mhm.
that. Nothing.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that's happening as well, and it's
yeah.
yeah, and it's very comical. I just had a short phone discussion with a lady a little bit earlier from Canada, her divine comrade, and the Chinese lady from I forget how you Huawei or that technology company. I just forget how to
Mhm.
pronounce it. Anyway, she was taken in custody, arrested here in Canada, and
Wow.
I believe it come out that she is going to launch lawsuits against the government of Canada, the RCMP, and perhaps some other agencies. But what I
Wow.
wish to say in respect to that, this is also further going to eradicate the government
Yeah,
because uh, where the governments have no immunity now as well, then they can be incriminated. And in respect to that, what has been pending just here in Canada the last several years, there have been huge liens placed, legal liens placed
wow.
against the government and agencies like the RCMP and the whole entire government of Canada, meaning that, well, when a lien is legally placed, they're actually, yeah, there's nothing really that they can do. And one of the
Yeah.
large liens was placed against when Harper was prime minister up here several years ago. And it was quite comical when that lien was placed. It was never publicly announced, but what he does, his first trip is to the IMF looking for money to appease the lien, which was very comical. But that was the beginning of their demise as well. So
Oh,
there's so many comical attributes of the dark desperation. Instead of
yes.
doing what's right, they always
Yeah.
look for the
Four
deceitful,
ways.
but it doesn't work because it's not supported here, and it has not been since 2012 on the surface.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because, Trump he just has said so many things that are very subtle, right? But if you're really listening, it's like watching a really good movie, there's so many subliminal messages in that. And he's just feeding the information, but it's like, it's just going out. But, all the higher, the angels, we know, like, we're tuned into it, right? But I think the masses are just like, oh, he's just, whatever, having his way. And, I don't think they're catching on to that yet. So I think it's awesome. Yeah. And
Uh,
he's doing what he's doing and subtly, like throwing those out until I think that he's just strategically planning how, he's not doing it full on deliberately because I think what happens when he does that, it really does squeeze, like you were saying the other night, it's really squeezing the dark more, so they get more, that they can mess up, so they kind
mhm.
of bury themselves.
Well,
So
what
he's
it is,
really fine.
yeah. So what it is again, you have Trump. He's experiencing a duality, and perhaps, well, we should say, I guess, yeah. Dad says to say Trump is also experiencing the triality. So he
Mm.
needs to get down to the masses that are not awakened. And it's in these masses as well where you have the resistance. So he must deliver things in certain ways to strategically steer what must happen. And at
Yeah.
each level, there are different truths, as you're saying. Ones of you that are awakened, ones of us, sorry, that are awakened. You quickly identify it and know it as truth. What Trump is doing, you're informed with that, and
Yeah.
as you said, there's no mistaking about it. Like the old Sesame Street game, one of these things are not like the other. And when Trump announces something like a gold-backed currency, well, yeah, that sticks right out, and
Yeah.
it makes you know that it is very, very real. But so yeah, you have Trump, working on all of these levels. And again, one thing with the wall, that is a ruse in a good way. It needs to be there strategically placed temporarily, and it does serve several purposes and intents at revealing more of the opposition, which is one of the very excellent, ingenious ways to do it as well.
Yeah.
It puts the opposition, uh, what it's a very weak opposition, but at least it puts them out and clears them as well, so that people can see what else was there. But also with this very rapid transition, what we are going to see is that there will be no walls because there will be no borders. Once you have the currency reset and all countries temporarily are in, you will not have ones wanting to leave Mexico, and you will not have immigration problems. You will have none of this because it is fixed once everyone has the wealth that they need. And if you were to ask really, some Mexicans that had to immigrate or emigrate out of there, that they'll say they loved their country and they wanted to stay there, but they couldn't because of economic conditions. And they will tell you, and anyone will say this, that they really don't want to leave their country, like so Serbia, Slovakia, and different areas over there. The huge refugee, the Croatians. No one wants to leave, but they were forced to leave because of the conditions that were created by the cabal and other dark forces which controlled them. But if everyone had, what they basically what they need, there would be no one really wanting to leave their home. You're going to have
Yeah.
nomads, yes, which is beautiful as well. But what I'm saying is that you don't need borders, you don't need countries, you don't need any of it, and there is no war. It's the things that was caused by the control of money that created all this
Mhm.
separation and division and disharmony and all of this. But when we restore and respect each one, you don't need borders, countries, and what have you. So you
Yeah.
don't need a
Well, now,
wall.
well, because I had told you when I was reading one of his tweets that he said, the 5G and even the 6G would be good, but then there was a quote from or a drop from Q, and they decoded that where he was really talking about the wall was, yes, for to protect us, but it was also protecting us from the 5G that the Democrats wanted to bring in. So that would be harming us. So this wall was somehow to protect that. What's your thoughts on that?
um, my thoughts on that, Linda, would be that I would not really, right at this time, think too much of that. Um, Let me say that that idea or perspective is, put out there for some divine reason. But what I
Yeah.
will say is I'm not really informed on that perspective. But what I will say, because it does tie in to what I was saying, is that you're seeing a transition in belief and perspective. What you just identified with this, instead of keeping out what was drug cartel and immigrants, you're actually seeing that it's taken on a higher perspective, that it's for something else. And that is also very indicative of how far we have shifted in transition as well, where you now see, if you said Q had mentioned that, if you see this higher perspective, that it's very indicative that we have transitioned higher yet, which is a Yahoo moment, right?
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Oh,
But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
no,
Yeah.
I always love going to the end result. Yeah, we don't need no walls, no borders,
Yeah.
and none of that
Yeah. Learning.
5G stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't plan on staying mundane. Did you have any other updates that you wanted to? I know before we got on the show, you were talking about, some energies. Did you want to do any update on energies before we go into Q&A? Any
Yeah,
last words?
perhaps, and I'd like to interview you before we go to Q&A, if I may. We'll
Oh,
reverse the roles if you're game. But
yeah.
yeah, the energies again. Yeah, pretty wild with this 3-3. That was amazing to witness that. So they're putting out, I guess it was told to me it's the third year in a 7-year cycle. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Third,
they were getting
third month.
third month, third day. And,
Yeah.
many of the light communities has empowered that with their
Oh,
energy. And what's so appreciative of that is I'm seeing the byproducts back here without participating in it. I am actually back witnessing, yeah, byproducts, and others mention it as well. So that also is very indicative of the light community's strength to be creating these synchronicistics and side effects. And it's very impressive. And it has also shown blatantly to me how the light worker community has grown and empowered themselves even more. So yeah, it's beautiful to see that. So present energies are, yes, um, fluctuating. It depends on the individuals. We've had so many upgrades in the last several days, higher upgrades. Again, we've been hitting the heart on certain ones with testing them with fear. And that's for very good checking, testing their resilience and their ability to master fear, uh, let's say, unsuspectedly. So let's say you're just sitting there, all of a sudden, boom, you feel deep fear in your heart, right? And instead
yeah.
of resorting to fear reactions like worry and say, oh, what's wrong with my heart and all this, what you do is you just stop and wait. So you're testing your reactions, and your actions are test the level of fear you're at, because again, your level of fear dictates what dimensions you are going to be going into.
Yeah.
So for some of you that are higher, you are tested in that manner. And I'm allowed to say this to give you heads up, because I want all of you to pass your tests very quickly, and let's get it
Sorry.
done. So that is one thing going on. Your eyes are being upgraded even more yet, and
Woo!
they need to be
Under my
to
glasses.
yeah, but they're being
That's
upgraded
funny.
in such a way to see the other dimensions. Your vision for hair may differ. You may have vivid times and blurring. But it's what I'm saying is that your vision here, for some, it does. Like their vision goes back to 2020 or whatever. But what I'm saying with the eyes, it's not about restoring your vision here to 2020. It's about uh, rearranging the DNA in the eyes and the rods and the cones and everything that was utilized for human sight to only see the lower densities. So as you're being upgraded, your eyes need to be as well to be attached to the higher realities and things you're coming into as well. For example, if you're part of the new quantum financial system and you got to stop in a bank, a universal bank to pick up a card, well, if your eyes are not adjusted to that dimension, you might drive right by it and just think it's a house. So, just as an example. So, your eyes need to be tweaked up, yes, to recognize interdimensional things.
Sweet. Like that.
Yeah. So, that is occurring. More activations, as I mentioned with Danny here. Her Kundalini has been activated, and her heart chakra just recently, which is so powerful as well. And I've been so fortunate to witness that right here too. So so that's great. So many are making rapid progress with that, and there comes some discomfort with it, but everyone gets through it. And so that's amazing as well. And we're seeing more and more are capturing pictures of the ships, their recognition and of the ships, and also their eyes being changed to a marginal degree, which they can see and identify with them, and also attached to their knowing and connecting more with their ships, and that is occurring. And always lots of good things going on.
Yeah.
Now, if
that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I loved the 333. I was thinking when you were saying that, wouldn't it be awesome? Because it's such powerful. Because everybody's on the same page, right? Everybody's feeling that and thinking that, and so if we can get everybody to do the same thing with just all of this, the ascension and just keeping that high vibration and our thoughts on the same page, we can do the same thing.
Yeah, and we have everyone refined, and then you create in reality instead of creating all kinds of side products. Put energy into side products. You can put your energy into the one big thing, your pure energy, and you create that bigger. So instead of expending energy creating little pockets or side things, just keep your intent refined to be creating the big thing going ahead, and everyone holding hands with that is so important in creating these. So it's
love that.
what we do.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Love it. Okay.
Thank you. Linda, may I wish to interview you for a moment.
Sure. You can interview me.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I got to
You're welcome.
the role.
Yeah.
So, Linda, okay. You shared a story with me the other evening, or not a story, an experience of, I believe, you saw a portal in your room, but then you also saw some ships. If you may, what occurred first?
The one morning I saw a ship, a small ship. It was fluid and translucent, and it was about this big. And it was hovering over me. And then I also saw next to my bedroom door a portal that was about the size, like my basketball size, that was spinning. It was also translucent and fluid. And so when I woke up, I was in that space or place wherever you're at, not really quite awake because I could see, because even the door, I could see the colors on the doors, on my door where the portal was. So I was like, oh, it's a ship. And I was just kind of like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a portal. So yeah, that was really cool. And I shared that with you and Junior as well. And then also the day, not the next day, but the day after, I saw, it was weird because in my room I have this big wardrobe, and I opened up my eyes and I could see that it was by the wardrobe. And as soon as it saw me open my eyes, it like zipped right over and came above my head. It was the same size, about this size, but it had color in the center of it. And I didn't see the portal that day. But yeah, so I was just communicating, like saying, hi and thank you, and, like how cool it was with all these different colors. And yeah, so, but I've had these in the past before, but never really talked or shared, you know what I mean? Because it was just like, there was really nobody to really talk to about it. But it's been cool. Yeah.
So these colors that you saw in the ship, were these the same as the rainbow colors, what we see in the Merkaba? Did it resemble a Merkaba ship that, many are beginning to give their video footage of it out in the sky? Would you say this is an actual Merkaba ship that was right inside of your bedroom?
Yeah, the colors in the center were like a blue, a green, the yellow, the purple, red. So it was all different colors. And it was almost like if you had a mosaic, like blocks of color that went around into the circle. And so, yeah, and it would just keep spinning, and I would close my eyes again, and then I'd open my eyes, and then it would just, it was just kind of like, spinning, just kind of hovering over. And so, yeah, and then I, closed my eyes again, then I opened my eyes and it was gone. And then I could tell that I was really kind of back because I knew, there was no colors on the door or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was gone too. So,
So,
yeah, so it was cool.
So what did you think it was at that time, or did you intuitively know it was a ship?
Well, every time I've seen it, I've kind of like in my like I know it's like, oh, that must be a ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not really. Like now that we're in this space and place where we're at now, right? Like I'm talking years ago, I really didn't. I assumed it was sort of like, because it looks like a ship, right? But it was almost like, no, that's really kind of imagination. That's not really what it was. But I really kind of, in my inner knowingness, I knew that's really what it was, but not really on a conscious level. Where now it's like, oh, I knew exactly what that was, right? Because I could see the center, even though it was that big, the center was like this, and then the outside, you could see the outside spinning and the inside spinning. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So now that I'm in that place, I would say, yeah, now I really know. I'm like, oh, and then when the spin of the portal, like years ago, if I saw that, I would have been just like, what the heck was that? So now that I know, yeah.
No, sorry. So, did it come out of the portal, or did it go when it left? Did it go back through the portal, or what occurred with the portal?
Well, there was two different times. So the first time was just the translucent ship, and then the translucent portal, right? And so they were separate because the ship was above me and the portal was over by the wall. So where it went after I, really kind of came really awake, I don't know where it went. It just kind of just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
The second time it was just the ship with all the colors, and that was by the wardrobe. And I have no idea where that one. I mean, I just assumed it just kind of just,
Yeah.
just went somewhere. I have no idea where, but yeah. So,
yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah. So, what I wish to add to that, yeah, it was definitely a ship. We know that, and ships can be any size because we can transcend space and time. So yes, just like you experienced others, you can have your ships inside of your room. The same as with conscious light beings, which are orbs as well. And uh, I'll take this opportunity to share for the first time in this physical existence here. Just the other night, I awoken, or the other day actually, it was daylight, and there was the most beautiful, it was about that big around. It was above my table, the most beautiful consciousness, and it was the prettiest blue, sparkling, with a purple center, which was a violet center, which was just so beautiful. And it stayed there. My vision was right on it. I was awake, and it stayed there for about a second and a half, and it left, and it was a, let me say in the least, it was a higher aspect of consciousness, which was uh, just there to observe. But no, there's a lot more with that. Maybe at another time I'll get into it. But it was so beautiful to see that in the orbs, you know, as others have seen. These are consciousness. They're very real, right? And light beings and all of this, and it's all interconnected. And so we're getting many visits on so many levels. And you know, but speaking of visits, you know, on the Real Angels page, I forget his last name, but Mike, you know, he shared a very important real experience that he had, which is amazing, with interacting with what you may consider some gray aliens, and having quite an experience. Was a very important, very magical, and when those sort of things happen, it very quickly catapults one, you know, knowing that this is not the only reality, and that things actually work different than what the human mind was programmed to think. And it's the introduction to these, but it's again, it's not limited to it. It's only the beginning, as um, the vibration upon the planet continues, and you know, the advanced ones continue to awaken, and they remember. And you know, memory is not just a way that in your mind, that if you look back on your life here and you remember certain things, that's not really all what memory is. Memory, in actuality, is an energy that remembers your gifts as well. So, for example, if you look back to a very sad time in your life that you were crying, let's say 20 years ago, well, when you reflect back there, what actually occurs is that that energy makes you feel sad in this now. So that tells you that there's also that energy, the memory, which transcends all time and space, and it can be activated. And with that, what comes? Oh, this is a beautiful guy, amethyst.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Is that eyes?
yeah, his eyes. But
Beautiful.
with that, but
I love
you know,
amethyst.
yeah, but what occurs is that in this time of memory from other existences, when your consciousness, it exists for all time, when it begins to remember the other existences, let's say from a Lantean time or Lantean or Syrian time. So when you begin to remember from your other multi-dimensional, no, when you remember from your other existences, Not only does a memory come like a flashback of what you did there, but what comes with it when you remember it is also gifts that you had in those times. Now, totally you may be totally oblivious to what occurred, and this is why uh, I suggest for ones to always keep recognizing that if you have new gifts, because as you retrieve your memories from your different existences back into your consciousness, into this now, also what comes with them is gifts. For example, if you were a Pleiadian and you communicated telepathically, well, guess what? When you remember an aspect from that, you only need to remember a little part of a segment, because that is a database full of your energetic gifts and everything. Well, then, yeah, your telepathy comes into this now and begins to be integrated within the physical consciousness in the vessel, but it becomes applicable um, in ways that you can utilize it. But then you are also bringing it into this now. So what you do is, once you recognize that that gift has awakened, or that you remembered that gift, then you build on enhancing it, and you have the ability to take it to its fullest fruition. And with telepathy, telepathy is not, as people think, just restricted to communicating just with messages or thoughts. What happens with telepathy, you also have byproducts of events that will filter through. Smells, all of certain things can come through, and this has been happening more regularly, and it's also very indicative of how much each one is advancing. And what I love laughing about is that I smoke, but I'll be speaking with some of my friends on the phone, and they'll smell cigarette smoke, right? But this is a form of telepathy, and it's impressive because they need to be able to. Um, they need to have that form of telepathy within them activated to be able to receive the smell well. And if they did not, well, then they would not smell it. So it's very impressive, and it's a great gauge for me from someone when I'm speaking with them. They smell cigarette smoke, or, in the past, if someone had some lemon smell, they would say, smell lemons or peppermints or what have you. But it's all connected. Well, I should stop rambling, girl.
We'll get on the Q&As.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get on the Q&As. Hey, everybody, just tuning back in to say hello. Well, we're always tuned in, but just to say hello, everybody that's come on board. If you have any questions, we'll do one question at a time, please, so we don't lose. Thank you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth said, thank you, Rick, for all your sharing and helping us grow. You're welcome.
You're welcome, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Yes. Chris, I had 3 dreams recently where I was handed something and told it was a gift. So fun exploring these. Oh, that's awesome, Chris. That's cool. I love that. So, you guys have any questions?
I should mention I should mention what Chris just brought up. Again, I mentioned it before, and I wish to reiterate that there are certain items that do pertain to future timelines that ones might have come across. Not only crystals, they can be amulets, keys, that came to them under unusual circumstances. So if you have those, it's great to know that they are of significance, and just keep them where you know that they're where they're at. Or you may wish to dig them up if you got them buried somewhere, and just keep them perhaps in sight. They do bear some significance. And what they do, only one thing what they do, let's say if you have an old key that comes from somewhere, one thing that you can do as you get stronger, that key, you might have handled that thousands of times or a dozen times in the past and felt nothing. But as you become stronger, there may be the one day very soon that you will feel that key or touch it, and you will start getting visions or memories from it, or perhaps even clues. So it's good to have these items where you know where they're at for a certain time in this now, or perhaps in the near futures as well. And they also assist with triggering and activating certain memories that you may wish, which gives you more knowledge and more information that will pertain to perhaps your mission or what you are doing in this now or what you will be doing shortly. So they are more than just material items. They are actually little vaults of information.
Sweet. She said, thank you.
Welcome.
Very, yes, very specific. Oh, thank you. Junior said on the Jasara, you mentioned 200 countries. Which ones are not signed up yet?
Junior, I do not know that, and I did not look. It's over 200 countries, but let me say that things can very rapidly occur, meaning that all countries must comply and they'll be taken care of. That they do, and it is assured that they do. So that will happen on, and also it can happen, very quickly. In respect to that, again, Trump's visit to, Korea, where him and Kim Jong are now writing love letters back and forth. What he said, that was very important.
I didn't hear that one.
As well, and part and parcel with, affecting and administrating cooperation within the Jasera too. So everything is divinely assured, but it's at this time that everyone is more or less ready to go forward. We did apply some more galactic pressure to assure that it did. So let me say the number is really irrelevant. Perhaps there's 239 countries perhaps on the world, but that really doesn't matter. As you can see, you have, or maybe 296. I just don't recall the exact number, but at least, hey, in the democratic view, or in the view of democracy, you have the majority.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you, Rick, and thanks, Jennifer, for asking the question. Thank you, Chris. Hannah, what about seeing something dome? I can't pronounce that word. Sorry. In an unusual place, and then it wasn't there the next time. Well, that's time jumping. I don't know how to pronounce this word. Like geocentric or geodesic. Sorry, just saw a dome. I think you know.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I believe I do, but I'm not fully up on that as well. Let me say, and thank you for bringing that up, because again, when you're fluctuating on timelines, things are going to appear and disappear, especially if you're chaotic. If your energy is chaotic to the degree that you have not mastered your negativity, you can very quickly, if you have not mastered negativity and fear, you can be fluctuating, and more things will break for you, more things will appear and disappear, and more disharmony until you do the higher things and get rid of your negativity and your fear, and be more in love. Then what happens is your timeline stabilizes. that things don't appear and disappear, and many little negative aspects and quirks as well. So it's within each of you to what you wish to experience and create. So upon knowing what I just said, it can very well expedite each one of you forward of no matter what, trusting everyone, being in full love, because mistrust is actually a fear response and a doubt. What you need to do is trust yourself fully and trust divinity that no harm is going to come to you whatsoever. And when you do that, you also empower yourself that it cannot. So it's very important. Negativity and fear just still very important to master and eradicate it to its fullest.
Ooh, yes. Thank you for that question. Awesome. Thank you, Rick. Micheline, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If I'm not, I apologize ahead of time. Micheline, I really like to say that. Micheline. Beautiful name. How can we be sure we activated our Kundalini? We just did a show on that. I had several experiences, but not sure. Perhaps not being sure is because I haven't activated it.
Okay. On an inadvertent level, many Kundalinis are beginning to activate. Your first, with this round, what I'm seeing is that, let's say, you begin to feel the sexual sensations. And this is in conjunction with your root chakra. And for this to occur, though, for most, but nothing is written in stone, for most, your heart has been open enough to allow for the root chakra to be activated, which is the vortex. It's the you could actually say the pinnacle of your Merkaba. It needs to be activated first. But let me just get back online here with this. But what is occurring, Michelin, presently is that, yes, we are activating more with their Merkabas because it is time. So there should be a lot of sexual sensations going through the collective to the ones that are not activated to high enough degrees. But when this occurs, you will feel the sexual sensations. And if your heart chakra has not already been opened before the root chakra, then the next thing is your heart chakra very rapidly opens and expands. And for in the past, for others that were on their journey, it took years and years to align their chakras, open them up, get rid of blockages. Now it's done very quickly because what caused the blockages is negativity and fear. So once you master all of that, which many of you have did to sufficient degrees, well then guess what? A lot of you are going to get triggered. Your Kundalinis are going, your Merkaba, which is your Kundalini, is going to be activated very quickly and very rapidly. You get your engine powered up with that. So sexual feelings, sexual sensations, actual tingling and feeling the energy in those areas is an inkling that if it's not triggered, it's on its way to become triggered. And in knowing God and knowing your divinity, when that heart chakra opens, there is no mistaking it as well. And during these times, it's very possible for ones of you that are beginning to go through these stages that you may think you're dead, and you'll have that sensation because your soul recognizes that you are in a different place. You are at a higher level, a higher energetic state of being. And it's part of the organic to energetic transition, and it will result in the body feeling like that, kind of like an uncertainty. Okay, what just happened, or what have you, and that is also quite normal. But it's also for the ones at that level, it's the beginning of a more integrated introduction to your multidimensional abilities as well. So essentially, yes, many more are going to be triggered, Kundalini's activated, and when you start feeling energy in them areas, yes, that's the beginning.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Micheline, for asking that question. We don't have any other questions right now. Anybody have any question you want to ask Rick? Okay. So let's see. Oh, I've said thank you. Let's see. Love and okay. Thank you, Love and Light. Kathy, fear no evil. I'm from the light. Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
Right on, girl. You go.
Yeah. Best to get rid of all negativity. Yes, Sarah. Absolutely. Let's see. Let me go back up to the page here. I think they're just talking to each other. No questions right now, Rick.
Well, Linda, didn't
yes.
yeah, you had a few other things written down, didn't you, in the promo we were going to touch on, or
in the promo tonight?
Yeah,
or
was there
way before tonight? Well, timelines. Huh?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, because you might trigger something for me. As far as we talked about last night for tonight's show, or before.
Yeah, what you had written down for tonight's show. Yeah.
I had. Oh well, I had down the event on for the QFS. The event doesn't know where to go and it prolongs it when we're not on the same page. We control the source. And there's you talked about different groups energizing the QFS and the Jasara and Nasara. We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
On timelines, things disappear and appear on timelines. You kind of touched on that.
Yeah, we just touched that. That was important.
That was really about it. You did this distinction. You were doing a distinction, which you did that as well, defining it. Choice to energize. Yeah, we talked about that. That was all I had on that one. There was other ones that but that's a different, like for other shows that we were going to talk about.
What I wish to share with others, many of you, yes, have seen me in the astral, in your dreams, and also to some respect partly materialized. And again, without any conceit or grandiose expression, it is very real and it's very pertinent that those connections were made. So again, it's not by chance, it's divinely orchestrated. And yes, I do appear at certain times, but also the reason I'm bringing this up, what is going to occur, and thank you so much for the lady that just reminded me of this. What's going to occur Also, perhaps not with with ones that are just awakening to certain degrees, it's going to be more of you that are going to see me. And what's going to occur is that it's ones that's really not watching this right now. It's going to be new ones that will watch this in the future, because it's part of my job to awaken ones as well, and also keep a connection to certain ones. So you will see me and experience me, or at least recognize my energy. And with that, I have lowered my guards lower, meaning that more of my heart now will be felt by you, and there may also be more of the sexual energy will be felt from me as well. And there's great discipline with this, and I do utilize it responsibly. But just to give you, to give the viewers a heads up that this is so, and yes, it's part of my assistance for humanity as well, to tweak up things and energize, and my divine work is all inclusive, to perhaps say the least. But yeah, thank you.
Well, Linda says if you're ever bored, you can come and visit her.
Well, thank you, Linda. Is that Linda Winger?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, I just think
Rick was in one of my dreams too.
She was, yeah, Linda and I, we had the opportunity to spend a few hours together when she was at a gathering there, and yeah, it was so great to spend a little bit of time with her as well. Yeah, everyone just.
Well, we do have three. Sorry, we do have three questions. Well, and Junior said he dreamed about you twice. So you were in his dreams twice. You're welcome, Debbie. Debbie says thank you. Love you too. I think Richard was probably our sun moon. Richard was probably first. We control the source, because I was mentioning things that we were talking about. So we control the source, question mark. You know, source being God. We don't control God, but can you define what you meant by source? We control the source.
In what context was that?
Well, remember when I was saying, you were saying what points did I have down, and I said one of the points I had is we control the source.
The source of the temporary monetary supply, or the source of all creation?
No, it would be with the QFS, because it was under the QFS.
Yeah. Actually do.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, we actually do control that from a higher level, but more of you incrementally and very rapidly are being connected to that, to have more of an energetic influence and control over that as well. So it's like a network being built there. We actually do, and you actually do control it as well. And this is also why I brought up it's important for the viewers to know this and keep the higher energetic timelines alive and energized, like the currency resets and the QFS and all of this. Yes, the more you know about it, the more you are aware of it, the more that it resonates with you, the more integrated you become and connected to that. So and also you administer a control, but it's a collective control over it. And let me say, if we look at, I'll just leave it as that. But no, I must add this. Although there is a collective control over it, that control is also governed from a higher realm a higher divine realm, because everything is always assured. One of the things that is so pertinent with this ascension is that you are being given back your full sub co-creator status, but you are not given your full creational gifts and powers until you get rid of all of the fear and negativity, meaning that you master it all, that it cannot influence you nor have effect. And the reason why this becomes so important is because you will be creating events as well and certain things. And what we are and what we do is we do not create chaos nor bad things. So your creational ability needs to be purified to such to the fullest extent before you're given more of your powers.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Richard, for that question. A good question. Sun Moon, you must have been like in my head because what I wrote down, she says, right hands and right foot hurting, electrical pulses coming out of them. And I wrote down, ask Rick about my right fingers and my right feet because I have the electrical same thing. So thank you for asking that question. So we're gonna just knock it out. So,
Awesome.
I love that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you know this is going. It's wild and wonky, and it's cool because you know we also have the pleasant surprises. But with you girls on your right side, it's most likely you know it's your masculine side being activated to higher degrees, and not only that, what without
Oh my God.
well, just them, bodies, what happened, girl? That ship come and take your computer?
No, you went out first, and then I went out, and I was like, I know we're still visible, but our screen is like no picture of us.
Okay, well,
Just when it was getting good, you girls and you're right, whatever you were gonna say, I was like, what? No way. Okay, remember what you were saying the other night? We need some laughs. This is
yeah,
about higher vibration.
be careful with your hands. Don't move them so quick.
Oh, I know.
Okay, yeah.
No, it's true. It distorts the whole. We gotta stay still. Oh, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm in school. It's like sit still. I talk a lot with my hands. So, oh my gosh, that was too funny, right, Matthew?
Yeah.
Totally.
So,
Oh, you
so
gotta love
essentially,
spirit. Whatever.
the essentially what I'm getting, yes, you know, it's energetic discharges, but it's also connected to your gifts, and it's also powering up what I'm receiving for. It's powering up. Um, the extremities of the nerve endings. I'm just kind of like channeling here, but I'll put this into, yeah, to keep it simple. Again, it's attached to more of your abilities and more of your gifts to come. And as you have already done, you recognize it, play with it. Uh, be open to what it is, open your consciousness in your heart to receive your own information on what to do with it, or more of what it is as well. But there is you are not the only two. This is occurring for many more as well at this time, and it's also it's connected to so many gifts as well. One of the things is changing the polarity of material items as well, whatever you touch with that. But um, let me say there's more on this that I'm just receiving the knowledge on it, but I have not simplified yet. So this is a great subject to for me to get more information on what I can purvey to everyone in the future. So just at the surface, what I'm given is yes, there's a lot more experiencing this. It's very real. It's very powerful. Again, there's nothing to be afraid of. The main thing is to learn the control over it and the discipline of it when the electrical currents actually come out of your fingertips or your feet as well. This is actually very cool, and we will build on this, but essentially trust it, have fun with it, and yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Simon, for asking, the question. Oh, that was so good. Naja, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct. I think I am. Are you interested in doing a massive guided meditation focused on same intent for groups on like a one intent?
No, I do not do guided meditation, if you will. No.
What if she was to do it?
No, go right ahead. That's great.
Would she actually?
No, I work on the conscious level that I do not meditate. I suggest for all of you also, meditation is very good and very important, but there comes the point where you where you enhance that meditation, that you are walking around always open in that meditative higher consciousness state. So I suggest for any, at this point, begin annexing your higher means to that. Take it beyond meditation so that you are living it, that it's there with you every second of your day now. The meditative effect that it brings with you into your consciousness in your state of peace. So it's time to take it with you everywhere you go through every second of the day is what I suggest. Not at this time will I be doing anything like meditative guidance. No. Okay. What I will, if I need to do, is instructing ones from your conscious state to begin sub-creating and influencing in events if it needs to be done like that. And I'm setting up the group there from Real Angels to facilitate that, to get most of the powerful ones together to do this. But it's also possible we may not need to do it, but it'll be ready nevertheless.
Sweet. All right. Kim, thank you. Thanks, Rick. Kim has a question. When will we know what our missions are? Thank you, Kim.
You're actually living it. It's given to you every day that you get up. You are living part of your mission from in the past, a subconscious level. to be more efficient at that, fully surrender to divinity and try not to control your reality. Uh, but your missions and purposes, they vary, and there are many groups and many teams there, and it ranges from ones being very active in changing events, creating on a higher level, down to ones just by being in a certain spot, just having the love vibration, that is part of their mission as well, energizing certain areas. So it's the scale is wide with it, but your mission again is more revealed to you the higher you raise your vibration. It's not in such that for well, yeah, to keep it simple, the higher you raise your vibration, the more of your mission and your assignments are given to you as well. So, meaning that it may not, with your soul contract, if you look at that label, you can change that. And we touched on this earlier. So, as you advance yourself in the willingness to do that, you can and you do change your soul contract, meaning that what you felt before was your life's mission here. It can take on an entire new perspective and change. And the best way is to be as fluent and as flexible as you can, and be and surrender also to the divine plan in yourself, and don't restrict yourself to, let's say, be in a career or whatever. Be ready to change in the moment, uh, but keep working upon yourself, and that makes it so much easier when you don't try to control things from a human consciousness. Life and everything here goes much better for you. So when you surrender to the divine plan, then that thinks for you. You don't need the human consciousness to think from a lower density place.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks for asking a question. So Linda,
I love laughing.
so Linda says, so is that why you have that sexy shirt on? And then I just heard, yeah, and he needs a gold chain around his neck.
Yeah, okay, yeah. well, well, Danny will
So
be making. She might have some jewelry here. I might get one from her later.
So Rick got so Rick was really hot, and he's just,
Yeah,
he's just showing it all. We said we got to have laughs. We can't be all serious on the shows, guys.
Yeah, from my tattoo. Yeah.
Oh.
Actually, yeah, scar of a dragon.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that. Okay. Now we're back to be on the show.
Okay, we're back to normal.
We're back to normal now. Okay.
No,
Junior
like
says
normal. Let's get a rat again.
Yeah. The Cinnamoni Stone. Do you agree that it awakens you to your mission?
All right, Danny.
Oh, that's better than a gold one. It's a cross. Right. There you go. Right. Thanks, Danny.
Woo!
Rick's getting all retro on us, or he's getting retro, or I don't know, ghetto, or something like that. Oh, you're getting something on us. I don't know what that is.
Okay, what was the question? I was distracted from the 60s.
I know, the 60s, right? I was just trying to read. Linda went first. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah, Junior said the Cinnamoni Stone. Do you agree that it awakens you to your mission?
And thank you for that, Junior. All in all, let me say, all these perspectives are important. However, as we transitioned forward, Junior, out of the beliefs that many had imprinted within their consciousness from their time as a human, many of these beliefs should be let go, that maybe perhaps they're not truths. Not saying that with the Sentimani, because it did pop up, and I thank you, Linda, and you, Junior, for bringing this to my attention. So it does have some significance. And but what I am saying is, do not be attached to uh, beliefs to that, meaning that if something else comes along higher, that you're able to let that go and keep going with the higher perspectives. Now, this process is very important, and thank you for bringing it up. It's also important with any belief systems. Currently, upon the surface, what, as part of your awakening, you were introduced to. Let's just take very quickly the Anunnaki stories. I would suggest that it's any of you to let that go, um, to it, and to understand that you are of God and you were created by the prime creator, and that you are not part and parcel. There, it's 11:11. So that you are divine, and there's many beliefs and myths were put there to serve certain functions, but there comes a time that you may wish to leave these beliefs go, so that you uh, more fully discover yourself and your connection to all that it is in divinity. And yeah, your connection back with God, and open yourself up rather than um, encapsulating yourself within uh, an energetic belief that that does not serve you to your fullest extent. You have the ability to rise above it, and to not be restrained by retaining those sort of thoughts that could restrict you, and also could rob you of your power by putting thoughts towards something that perhaps is a little bit more sinister, when you could put those same thoughts towards something that is fully light and energize that. Each watching this show, your intents are to be fully moral and ethical, and to be of love and light, not to be of something that is lesser than that. It served a purpose, and a lot of these myths did, but you have the opportunities and the choices now to choose the more higher beliefs that will advance you, your prowess, and your and all that you are. So what I suggest is, do not linger on restrictive, negative, dark beliefs. To align yourself in the most easiest way is to align yourself with God, and to know you are a part of God without any distractions on the side. None of that matters. What matters is that you are one with God, and you know what you are, and you trust that. And that is what you are. And once you get to your higher places, then you see the truth, more of the truth. So, yeah, there comes a time, and thank you so much for bringing that up about the Sentimani, because it was right on cue, because what I just discussed was very pertinent, and and I had wanted to do that on tonight's show, to give that as well. So, and more of the reason why it's so important is because, again, you are creating. and you want to create all good things. So you don't want to have in your thoughts, because this is how you create, through your belief and through your thoughts. Then you project it outward. If you're thinking of an Anunnaki or Enoch or something lesser than God, then you are going to keep that in your reality, and it's going to distract you away from your growth, and your way back right to the head honcho. So, but it's each one's choice. But what I'm saying is, you have a choice, and part of the trick is being always open to the higher, quickest route back to what you are, and to how you are connected to the highest power.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. Yeah, he said he's grateful for you,
you.
that brother. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Hello, Tommy. Hello, anybody that's just joining us. I don't see any other questions. I'm kind of looking here. You're getting a lot of hits on here, Rick. It's you and your shirt. You're a hot man. You're very GQ.
No, please say I'm cool. I was hot earlier. I don't want to sweat.
Oh yeah, he's a cool. Yeah, he's a cool dude. Yeah.
Cool, brother. Right on.
Yeah, I don't see any questions. No.
Well, that's great.
Buying Centimani and angels come and works there. Oh, burying Centimani and angels. An angel comes and works there. Oh, if you bury a Centimani stone, that's Eileen.
Okay.
That's a question mark. Burying, if you bury the Centimani stone, angels come. There, where you buried it.
Yeah, again, anything of a higher belief and a good belief is it's good to have that. But be also ready to evolve out of it to higher truths. For example, the more you do your inner work and embody yourself, you do not need crystals and stones to work with. You have everything in this package to work with. You do not need any tools that are outside of you. So it's what I suggest for those of you that it resonates with, focus on empowering yourself to the fullest. That is the quickest way back to what you are, and back to God, and in doing the work, the divine work that you love to do here as well, and assisting others. The quicker that, again, more of you strengthen yourself and begin remembering more, and getting your awareness back, it expedites the whole ascension process as well. And let me say, in the last several months, that is so many rapid benchmarks are being made very appreciatively in this ascension. And again, the ascension is ascertained. There is not a time put on it, because it is dependent upon all of the parts, which is you and the individuals. But everyone is doing such an amazing job that it is expediting everything very handsomely and very quickly, and you're kicking open all of the doors to the right things, and it's just progressing so handsomely. So don't stop. I suggest keep powering up.
Kim, I'm going to get to yours. Let me just get to Kathy's, because it's kind of, the feed's going down. So I'm going to do Kathy's really quick. Her question is, so my question is, there are so many that are teaching, and some have so much ego. I worry about the ones that are just awakening. Can you tell others what to watch out for? Thank you.
What I will not say what to watch out for, because ego is a very important part of the process as well. So everyone, no one is actually doing any wrong. You have what are actual triggers divinely placed in there, and you have actual lesser quality representations placed in there as well. So they're very valuable for the individual when they do recognize perhaps a certain lower teacher that is egotistical. That's very important because it propels them forward. But that individual teacher, even though if they're egotistic to that degree or some lesser qualities, they are all part of the team and they do serve a purpose at being a step for someone to get going. And we do have ones down on the lower levels as ones begin to advance that they need to be introduced to things like ego, how it affects its degrading energy. So, they learn much value from that. But having said that, you also, once you know it no longer serves you, you need to know that it's just time for you to keep going on. Although it no longer may look like it's a good thing, what you do is you recognize it as a divine mechanism that is there, and you move on and do not compare yourself to anyone else. Because if you're doing that as well, what you are doing is you are having negative thoughts that is going to disempower you marginally. So the trick is to understand someone that has an ego as being divinely placed and there for others, because we do need in the lower densities teachers that do have an ego so that you can be introduced to that and learn how it serves and how it does not. Now also it's very important when you look at the ego that and my great friend Steph had reminded me of this the other year, which I love. She said, Rick, you need an ego for an identity, but there is a good ego and a bad ego. And so if you wish to look at the bad ego, well, that's what's got to go. But you need the ego to identify who you are, and that's so important. And words like ego or what have you do not restrict me, and I don't allow that, and neither should any of you, because if you believe that you are being egotistical by saying that you're an angel or an ascended master, if you believe you're egotistical, well, right then you are robbing yourself of your power, and that designation of being egotistical just robbed you of all of your power. So, what you need to do is to blossom outside of the restraints of any words like this and understand that being egotistical in such a manner that you're owning your sovereignty is what is utmost importance. It's about empowering yourself. So you need a good ego to serve as an identity. But what you don't need is a negative ego or a pompous or a gloating ego that is negative and that does disempower and diminish you. And many, some they have to experience that as part of their growth, where they're egotistical, demanding, and controlling. Those ones need to go in there to witness the rapid karmic events that are set up, that are perpetrated back upon them by their own doing. And it's more or less like after a while they get tired of beating their head against a brick wall, if you will, that adage, and they'll say, okay, this is not working, and it's about the ego. Then they work on themselves. So there's several things that happen with the ego. The main thing is for each one of you, do not compare yourself to another. Know that everyone is going through a process as well. Just work on your own self, empowering that to the fullest, and just be there for others should they need you. You don't need to impose yourself upon others. No, don't do that. What you do is you just be there, and if someone needs you, they will be placed before you.
Perfect. That was beautiful. Thank you for that
Well,
awesome answer. Thanks for that question. And I'll get to Kim's. Kim says 321 information question mark. Huh?
sorry, I interrupted. I had to say it. It was 333.
333. Yes, there was 333 comments. I
I'm
saw
sorry,
that.
Linda. I'm sorry,
I saw that too, but I was like, I better get these questions in. No. Yes, 333. We were just talking about 333. Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Kim.
what was your question?
It was from Kim, and she says 321 information question mark. Do you have any information on 321?
Actually, no, I do not.
We've seen it all over the internet.
321. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Countdown.
March 21st. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
March 21st.
Oh, yeah, countdown.
Rick was on another plane.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was there somewhere else, indeed. Kim, is it?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Kim, what I was divinely given was back in, I believe, December, that the way I was given it by towards the end of March, very significant things would have occurred globally that were the way I was given, that were substantial, that everything here would be different, very noticeably different towards the latter part of March. So since that time, and perhaps prior, I have seen the March 21st date, and that is also the equinox, is it? That date, it does keep popping up, and because it does, and because more and more are recognizing it and energizing it, let me say, by that time, yes, the significance of it is growing day by day with that. So yes, what I'm given is towards the end of March, a very noticeable differences there. So, and we do, we see that building up here very rapidly with world events in the last several days. Like you have the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu indicted. Very good. We have in India certain things where I don't know if this is fully out yet, but you're going to see more political things with India coming out very shortly. You have Canada and the Trudeau scandal, so you see the implosions setting up, but with Judy Wilson-Raybourn, and she is Native, and I love her for standing up. I actually sent her a letter perhaps about a year ago, but it didn't get to her. But it was so beautiful because in one part of the letter, and I actually just looked at it last night, in one part, I said, remember when you were 6 years old on that February day, how you were standing on the edge of the woods when that big whirlwind it came right around you out of nowhere, and and also I said, remember who and what you are, and what you must do. You are in a very prominent position, and so it was very great. I reflected upon that last night and read it. She never ever read it, but to see her standing up now, being what she is as well, it's just so beautiful to see. She is standing in her light, and she is delivering, the truth, and revealing the scandal and how she was threatened by other government people, you know, to keep quiet in favor of corporations and in favor of corruption. So it's all coming down. Sorry, I got rambling on.
Yes, thank you. All right, Dana, thank you. Do the energies and downloads strengthen us as they come in? I have 7 keys, Rick. Do I keep them laying out? And do we visit our ship at night as we sleep?
All of the above. As you know, with the energies, Dana, was it? Dana? Yeah. Yeah, with all the energies, it's a mixed bag, and it's all over the board now, Dana. Like before, it used to be common symptoms, but what we have is there are so many at so many different levels that there is really no norm to the symptoms, that you'll have several themes. For example, you could have several experiencing eye irritations, others bedridden. It's all over the board now. It's a mixed bag, but it's very impressive that it is, because it shows rapid advancement, and that one has got a more of a direction to where they're going, and they're empowering themselves with in respect to that. So yeah, energy downloads, upgrades. The sun, there was and there is ongoing major upgrades from the sun is being administered to the organic vessel. And I will share with you, with this organic vessel I have, yes, over the last several days, it is beginning to get more of the upgrades which I require as well. So that is occurring. And a lot of these upgrades are also at higher levels, with more advanced ones in your abilities to bilocate and go into the other dimensions. The keys, yes, Dana, please keep them there. I suggest periodically just touch them and see if you get any visions or flashes in your mind of any memories. Or it doesn't really need to be memories. They also carry codes as well. So that would be great. What was the last thing, Linda, on her list she had mentioned, if you don't mind?
Oh, gosh.
No, it's okay.
Should she keep them laying out? And sorry, Dana.
Yeah.
I can't get to it.
That's great. That's good. Okay.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah. The scroll thing, you know, we're trying to work on that with Be Live, but okay. Sean, I know you have a question somewhere in there. Now I just lost Amelia's. The right side of her mouth, all her teeth on the right side aching. She must be in my head too. As well as her right ear. Are they being upgraded? So her right side of her mouth and her teeth are hurting, and her right ear as well.
What's her name?
Amelia.
Amelia. That's not all upgrading. There's something else occurring there. What I suggest is whatever natural remedies come to you, it's something biological that's occurring there. That's what I suggest.
Okay, awesome. Anything else on that?
No, just for go with what she feels with her into. No, hold it. I'm told no on that. No, this is a biological case, so she needs to get whatever's natural for what can ever alleviate that discomfort. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's something biological, nothing to fear, of course, but something you must do in respect to that. I suggest no pharmaceutical like Advil or anything, but some sort of natural thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Amelia. Jenny, within the next 3 months, more masses will rapidly awaken. Oh, maybe she's just commenting.
Um, it- that is
Can I read that
also a
one?
good comment,
Yeah.
because see, there are different timelines as well. What we have right now, we do not require the masses to awaken. Who's on these timelines can keep going forward because they have attained uh, such a higher light quotient. So I wish to make that important as well, that there may be some that will not be awakening. So I just wish to say that.
Oh, her last question was, thank you for that, Rick. Sorry. On Dana's, her last question was, are we going to see our ships while we sleep?
Yeah, you can see them anywheres, Dana. Yeah, you can have the experience. See, your consciousness never sleeps nor never dies. So you can visit your ships, yes, with your consciousness when you're sleeping.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Amy says, Sean, I'm still trying to find yours. Sorry. Rick, is my skull complete in its transformation? I haven't felt new changes. That's Amy. Sorry. Thank you, Amy.
I'm sorry, Linda. I got distracted.
Amy said her, Rick, is my skull complete in its transformation? I haven't felt new changes.
No.
Okay.
We're going to be going on there with if you get any bumps in the head, know that it was divinely orchestrated.
Bang. How do we know if we're in contact with our ship? This is from, I can't get to your name. Let's see. ROUX, maybe TOUX. Let's see. Oh gosh, sorry, I need to find Sean. And then he said, "Thank you." Did you get my question? I can't get to her name. I can try and go back down there. Oh, TOUK. I don't know how to pronounce that. Talk? Took? How do we know if we're in contact with our ships?
Oh, how do we know? You just know if you're in contact with it. Let's say in the beginning, if you feel that you may be in contact, trust that because you are, and then you build on that. You feel it, so you trust that feeling and you believe it, and the more that you trust that and believe it, then the more communication you do have. And this is very evident with those that are connecting on higher levels with their Merkaba ships. For the most part, they will let you know that it was a progressive experience. But again, every experience is unique, but for the most part, it's a progressive experience to connect with your ships. You know, the first part of that experience is saying, huh, I might have a ship. And then that gets you on your way. Yeah, but believe and trust whatever resonates with you. It's so important. Trust the intuition follows, because what's occurring out of the bounds of human lush now. So you need to keep the mind fully open to transform and transition rapidly. You don't wish to have any human thoughts that are restrictive in regards to that. You are transitioning out of human into something much more. You are, yeah, with that. You're
Thank
going
you.
back to,
Thank you for that. I'm trying to get to Sean. Sean, you may have to type it up again. I apologize, but it went down in the feed and I cannot retrieve you. I'm trying.
yeah.
Sorry, guys. We're working with Be Live on this whole thing of the scrolling, and they know there's a problem, and their technical team is on it. Okay, well, I'm gonna go back up to the top. So if you do put that question in there, Sean, please. So I apologize. Let's see what we've got up there. You just answered Jenny on the event. Okay, Rick. I don't see anything.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is, Sean. My question was that I have incredible intense experiences on quite physical and nature at times. These intense experiences happen then nothing for long periods. Not sure how to unravel these. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah. Did he say tantric
No,
experiences?
intense experiences. Sorry, I read it so fast.
Okay.
My question was that I have incredible intense experiences and quite physical in nature at times. These intense experiences happen, then nothing for a long period. How to unravel.
Yeah. What occurs, like there's many activation processes, and there's also collective administered DNA upgrading. And there's also in between this, there are incubation periods. So there are also incubation periods with experiences and synchronicities as well. So it's not constant yet, but let's say the gaps between consistency are narrow all the time with that. But again, it's a process. It's being done incrementally so that you can take the humanoid vessel into other dimensions. And it's not done in the blink of an eye. It is a transitional process which will have periods of perhaps what you would call bland and then exciting periods with that. And also, it varies now per individual. So, as I just referred to earlier, so with this, nothing is written in stone. Everything's possible, and don't compare yourself to others. Uh, just keep empowering yourself to the fullest. It is the best to do, and also in respect to that, just because let's take an example that let's say you have a collective divine comrade. Let's say, woo, they're able to throw sparks, from their fingertips, and you can't. But let's say both of you are at the same conscious level. What you do is you don't compare yourself and think that you're something lesser, because all of you are the same, and it's very important that you don't degrade yourself and begin to think that there's something wrong, that you have a friend that's able to do that, a divine friend, and you think, oh, I should be able to do that. That's not how it works. How it works here is that at the end of the day, or let's say when you're ascended, you all have the same gifts. But very quickly, you are not given all of these gifts right here at any given time. There are certain ones that will play the role, that will have the gift to share with others. There will be other ones that do not have that gift. because very simply, for so many reasons, you don't want everyone going around with sparks flying from their fingertips, which changes everything what's occurring. So it's very closely and divinely administered and assured that things don't get out of hand. So there may be someone chosen that that gift will be turned on for them in the now, that they can use that gift, but it does not mean that you don't have it as well. And you have patience and understanding, and it could be possible that a different gift can be turned on for you in a few days' time. Just trust the process. So don't compare yourself uh, to anyone, because at the end of the road here, you are all the same.
Thank you. Thanks for the answer. And thank you, Sean, for asking. And Mihu has a question. Should we look right into the sun? Because there's so much energy coming from the sun.
Let me say that your arm is not twisted to do that. But for some of you, if you feel compelled or divinely guided to do so, then do it. But let me say that that again is on an individual basis. You really do not need to complicate things for yourself, but trust yourself, trust your intuition and your guidance. So for some of you may need to look into the sun, but again, another may not. So there is such a wide individual basis on what is occurring. And again, each one must trust and do not question what they're given to do, but do not degrade another for not doing it or what have you. Follow your guidance, what feels right with that. And, it's, and we can perhaps look at it that perhaps for you, you're supposed to look into the sun at a specific time. Perhaps there's going to be something administered to you, because it is very important, the sun, because of the photonic energy that is delivered. And, for your benefits, it could be that to assist with upgrading your eyesight to look in other dimensions, well, perhaps you need something by looking at it in the sun. So you follow what you get, but again, there's an individual basis with this. So what works for one may not work for another. But if you always trust your intuition and your guidance and don't hesitate and question it, it is assured that you get exactly what you need at that time.
Could it also be too, because I wrote down the word beliefs, because sometimes there's a belief, and this kind of goes back to where you're talking about the Cinnamoni stone. If we hold to a belief that we need to sun gaze, or we need to do certain things, right? We need to meditate in order to achieve, in order to connect, in order to raise our vibration. To me, that could really tie into a belief. That's a belief system for somebody, which may hold true for them, but not necessarily for another person. So I think it's what you're saying, which is great, because it's about what resonates with you, as far as if that feels great to resonate, to meditate, or but I think it can go back into beliefs, that there's a belief around certain things that maybe upholded a year or 2 years ago or months ago, that may not be held up in this moment of now. But that, again, it would depend on that person, what they resonate with, if that feels like that she would want to look, like you said, look up in the sun. But I think that we're changing so fast, which I think was brilliant what you said about the Cinnamoni stone, or really anything. It doesn't even matter. Like not to look at that as to be in your direct source to get you to where you need to go. It's in that connection with Father. That's what you want to uphold too, is that connection there.
Yes, and but you can consider beliefs as steps also to get there, and they do serve a purpose. But you know,
Yes.
if you're questioning some old beliefs, well, you can do it manually with your mind. Evaluate that belief, see what value you're getting out. Does it assist with your journey going forward, or is it perhaps a belief that no longer serves, that it contains no value for you? Because again, you have beliefs here, and you have beliefs here, and beliefs here, and you are stepping up, you know, that lower step. You don't need that or any of the energetic belief attached to it. But again,
Well, I think, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
That's good. Well, I was referring to more of a societal belief, not necessarily an old belief that I had. I was more to a light community uh, belief, and that, you know, the spiritual. I'm just going back, but again, it was just something that I wrote down, so I just thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah. See, again, there are so many levels with this awakening in the sense with the ascension again, and there are so many different groups that steer to these certain beliefs to facilitate a certain divine end. And yes, you know, again, they all serve a purpose. But if there becomes a time, let's say that someone goes over here and they get at the end and they just don't feel that it resonates anymore, well, evaluate if you began on a belief, you know, evaluate what value is it giving you, and then if not, just exit it and be free flowing going forward uh, to look for the higher beliefs that resonate with you and that fit you for that time as well to keep going forward. But again, the overall goal is to keep going forward back to your full divinity and to God, to source of all. And if you if you hold on to, you know, societal beliefs, and even within the ascension, if you hold on to certain beliefs there, it could restrict you as well. The trick is to have a fully open heart, a fully open mind, and to know that something you may have said, you may have agreed with at one day, the very next day, you may have to change your mind and say no. But that is so important and perfect to do that. You are not lying just because you support something here and that it resonates with you now. It's important for that time. And it's perfectly okay that if a day later you say no, that no longer serves. And have no reserves in speaking your truth and say that no, I changed my mind. My perspective has changed because it is part of the process as well. And let's take for an example Doreen Virtue. You know how she quickly gave up, let's say, what she called the New Age and the Ascension and a lot of these beliefs, and you know, just recently, and she went back. No, just God, just Jesus and God, and that's the way. And you know, with I in the beginning. Uh, when I was away, I had wished to. And meanwhile, you know, part of my assistance there, it began including many side effects. You know, with as I mentioned, fairies come in. Although the mythical is very real, dragons, all of these are very real and important things in crystals. that I cannot exclude because I am assisting that part of the ascension ones that those are their interests. So, and I'm assisting with that going forward, with them going forward. But, also with Doreen, she had to switch right overnight. And with her, she's not to be degraded or put down because she kind of flipped. It's best to look at that there was a divine reason, why that occurred. And for once, just to accept it and don't judge anyone because it can happen and it can happen to any one of you overnight.
Yeah.
And you need to be open and ever growing and ever evolving with this. So it's perfectly okay, again, to change your mind.
Yes.
And it's because
you have that right,
new
especially as a woman.
yeah. You have new information coming in.
Yeah.
Yes, you must change to keep up. Because if you don't change, you will keep yourself entrapped in a lie. When you were here, it wasn't a lie, it was truth to you. But when it's time to move on and you don't change, you'll keep yourself trapped in what's a lie because you're up here and it no longer serves nor pertains to your new knowledge and your new awareness.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mihu. Tosh Mahal has a question, would like to know where she's at with Ascension. Thank you, Tosh.
With okay, Taj, go within and trust where you're at with that. I know I am not giving you what you want, but the trick is go inside and trust yourself. See where you're at with it and what you would like to experience to grow. Trust yourself. Again, I don't really go into that aspect with it. What I'm about is assisting ones to grow. I'm not going to go in there and say, Taj, oh, you're at the low level number 2. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say is, Taj, get inside, girl, and don't compare yourself to levels. Get inside yourself and look for the higher things and keep grasping onto them and get yourself as high as you can. It doesn't matter what level you're at in the ascension. What more matters is where you can go, which is very high. And don't gauge yourself. Don't complicate where you're at. Just keep open and surrender to that divine plan and go with it. There is no need to compare yourself to others, but it is important for you to work upon yourself. And no one, they can tell you where you're at, but really, no, we shouldn't be doing that because, again, that's a sort of judgment that it clutters things up. You don't need that there. You wish to be more refined and open and trust where you're at with it and accept that, but also be open to keep moving forward so that you don't restrict yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick, and thank you, Taj Mahal. Appreciate that. Richard has a question. When will gift activation occur? Immortality, invisibility, teleportation, telekinesis, and time travel.
I saw that.
Amen, Richard. Yeah. He's like, hey, let's get this party started. Let's get on.
Yeah. Well, Richard, you've been around long enough to know that divinity doesn't give any dates. We can always say soon because there is no time for us. But let's look at where we're at right now with that, Richard. We're getting reports and confirmations in this now and documentation of telepathy is occurring on higher degrees, so that is factual. It is documented with our ships. That is documented. With abilities, with energy coming out of your hands, being seen. All of these things are very real. So for you to be seeing them now, what I would say that it looks pretty good that they could be very soon on linear time. But again, I'm not going to put any date or time on that. I'm not actually given any date or linear time on it. And just let's see what happens and keep going forward. And really look at this. No one should be asking things because the whole future you'd become bored and you want to leave here. So you got to keep things exciting and allow them to happen. But what happens is that what's very beautiful with this ascension, uh, you're not told the day before that the next day you're going to be able to create balls of light. The way the ascension works is that you'll be up and you'll just go like this. All of a sudden, you'll see a ball of light there. Then you get the information of what it is. And that's the way a lot of this occurs. And what Father has done with me and divinity is that many of you, you received in the past your gifts and things, and with no inkling what they are. And then I got to come in later. Okay, this is what it is. This is how you can use it, and fill in the blank. And it's in the past. Usually, it was the cart before the horse scenario. And I was pretty busy, after I first awakened with individuals that are assisting in that respect.
Mm, that's awesome. Yeah, great question. Thank you. We have a question. I can't get to her name, but her mission is Mother Earth, and she wants to know what is next in helping her. I'm trying to get, I think it might be Kim. Can you see that one? She's heard something about Mother Earth, and she is my mission. I love her. What's the next step of helping her?
Well, again, when your next steps where you're connected with Gaia, again, just put both your hands on the ground and open up, and you will know if you need to do anything else. Let's say, to keep it simple right now, it is important for so many of you that are so powerful in that respect to, keep your connection to what you may consider the patriarch, Father God, in the Son, and also Gaia, Mother.
Mm-hmm.
Mother Gaia. Keep that connection and keep it there, going back and forth in the least now. Keep everything connected and be the light conduit of which you are in energizing Gaia only with light, not anyone doing any grounding. Do not ground negativity into Gaia. You don't do that. You're a ground for the light to keep Gaia connected to. She is part of the Trinity as well. So you want to keep everything all connected and keep it as refined and pure as you can. Okay, I'm done with that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. It's a good question. I don't know. I think it was Kim. I think that might be it. Thank you, everyone. And hello to anybody that's joining us new. I think Diane just came in. Yeah. I don't have anything else for it.
Okay.
I don't see anything else. Is there any last words that you would like to say to our viewers?
Well, I'd like to ask a question. Were we really on here for 3 hours?
Yeah.
Wow, it only seemed like 2.
Yeah. Yeah, our show started at 6.
Uh,
I know, right?
yeah. Well, yeah, indeed. No, the only thing I wish to say, everyone, you're doing amazing, and it's great. And just don't doubt yourself and your connection to God and your divinity, and just keep going forward with it. Empower yourself. Hold hands with each other. Don't judge another. You are stronger together. And one thing that does hold true is that, divide and separate is what conquers and disempowers you. So keep together, and and we keep going forward like this, and also you create many beautiful things that you have not seen yet, and also we get through what could be a tireless or a tedious process rather quickly by everyone uniting together and get on the same page. And again, there's really no room for fighting or anything among the light community. And it's very important to do that as we go forward. So you do have a choice, and you have the highest option that was ever presented to you, even from a human perspective. You have your opportunity now to embrace your divinity. But while you're still on the surface, this did not occur any time before. So it's very important that you have a choice now, and do that. Okay, that's great.
Beautiful. Oh, that was awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Rick, thank you for being on the show as always. It's such a pleasure. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you as well, Linda. So much love to you, and love and light, and to all of the viewers. And we made it to a major threshold.
Yes,
So
yes.
please, let's watch the show. What's happening? A very exciting month. Yeah.
Yeah. If anything comes up, we'll be doing another show really quick here. So we'll see what
Yeah.
goes on. Yeah. So
Okay.
thank you again.
Love you. Love all. And I'll just stay on here, Linda, if we wish
Okay.
to chat when you shut it down. So thank you, everyone. I love you all, and we'll chat soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We love you. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the awesome questions. It's been such a pleasure. We love you, and thanks to everybody who will be tuning in afterwards. So, yeah, it's been pretty exciting. So, love all of you, and thank you again. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah.